Call this meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have one announcement this evening. Join the Grafton Celebrates the Holidays Home and Decorating Contest. A map can be found at tinyurl.com/Grafton Holiday Map for viewing through December 18th. Vote for your favorite in 3 categories at tinyurl.com/Grafton Holiday Vote. Winners will be announced on December 20th and receive a $50 Grafton restaurant gift card. There are no public hearings this evening, and first up, the select board is going to be talking to a couple of candidates for the ambulance committee. And the first on the agenda is Robert Holmes.
Good evening. Robert Holmes, 1 Balin Circle, Apartment 3, North Grafton, Massachusetts, 01536. It's nice to see everyone this evening.
You too.
So, here for ambulance committee, I guess you guys would like a summary of qualifications, or...
Yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in being on the ambulance committee.
All right. Well, I've been involved in EMS since 1997 in New Jersey when I first got certified. I'm still certified in Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York as an EMT. I am nationally certified. In addition to EMS for 25 years, I also have extensive relationships with public safety. I'm currently the community resource manager of coordinated response and public safety for the mayor's office of the city of Boston. So I'm leading that in response to the opioid epidemic and harm reduction in Boston. So I do have knowledge with the Massachusetts public safety response system and EMS as it goes with the city of Boston. Other than that, I have a lot of hazmat training, national incident response training. I've worked in the Emergency Resource Center and SysCom with Maryland State Police with their medevac program. I've been on a few medevacs myself with Maryland State Police. I've been with Frederick County Fire Rescue for 10 years, starting in 2010. Other than that, I've done some contracts, 2000 Tuxedo Police Dispatcher contract. I was a member of the International Association of Police. Also, 2012, 2014, I was the treasurer and union representative for Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 1, Government Printing Office, Washington, D.C. Anything else?
Does the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Holmes? And I do want to state that we do have 2 members on Zoom. I probably should have done a roll call at the beginning, but Mr. Mead and Ms. Foley are both on Zoom, so we'll take care of that after this. So, Ray and Emery, do you guys have any questions for Mr. Holmes?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay.
I do.
It's Anne Marie. No, I do not.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Holmes, can you help me understand a little bit? I have a hard time keeping up with all the correspondence.
I know, it's difficult. It's just there's no official way to communicate with the proper departments in town, I guess, with citizens' concerns. So that would be another goal, would be open up that channel. So citizens with concerns similar to mine with emergency services would have a way to communicate that with the proper government agencies in town. So I would like to see that because, I find it frustrating myself. I can't be the only one out of 19,000 residents. So I would like to see that change eventually. It could be a goal to work towards.
So, Mr. Holmes, we don't have other residents with similar concerns. And frankly, part of my concern, what you just described, I don't believe would be at all within the purview of the ambulance committee.
No, it wouldn't. The ambulance committee is actually...
My observation is that you've got some very broad-based concerns. And that I have some concerns that on that committee you would look to have an agenda that would go outside the purview of what the committee is supposed to be doing.
Well, I mean,
So maybe you can just address that concern.
absolutely. When you're appointed to a committee, you always have to follow the purview. That goes for any government body. When you're appointed to a position, you have to follow laws, regulations for that position. Me as a private citizen, I have that freedom to correspond with town government as I wish. But in a position where I am actually employed or representing, I do have to operate under certain laws and regulations as with anyone else in this room. My concerns, though, are valid concerns. Most other areas in Massachusetts have an ambulance response time under MGL 111. We don't in Grafton. Response times are important. Can I point out that it took 23 minutes for an ambulance to show up for a stroke patient? And time matters on a stroke.
We got that communication.
I understand, but I mean, you got that. But this is why I'm applying to the ambulance committee, because this is important. Let's hold MedStar to their contract. They have a contract. We're going to hold them to it. And that's why I'm applying for the ambulance committee.
Have you ever attended an ambulance committee meeting?
No, ma'am, I haven't. Again, they're not regular meetings. It's hard to see postings on them. We have a new website now, thanks to our town administrator, which is really nice.
Have you ever tried reaching out to that committee?
That would be the fire chief and the police chief on that committee.
Well, the committee, I know you've reached out to them for other issues, but as the committee, you enjoy sending correspondence. So was
I
just
do,
curious
and
if you
I've
tried
attempted
reaching out
to.
that committee at all.
As you know, I've been in front of this board for several different positions in this town. I've gotten nowhere. I feel I'm very qualified for these positions. So as a private citizen, I'm going to keep raising my concerns. Now, if I'm part of a committee, then those concerns can be focused into a committee where that agenda is focused, as in the ambulance contract. So, and that should have monthly meetings. There's a clause in there that any response times over 10 minutes should be posted on a monthly report sent to that committee and reviewed. So I don't know if that's been happening because I'm not a member of that committee. That's why I would like to be a member of that committee.
So I just want to be crystal clear. You have every right to give us correspondence, and I actually do appreciate it. I appreciate the continued correspondence. You have every right to initiate legal activity, to file complaints. You've been quite active with the town. However, you don't have the ability to take those actions, which I take as a reflection of who you are as a character, with complete impunity. So seeing the actions that you've taken against the town, you have every right to do that, but you do not have the right to do that and think that those things are just in a vacuum when you then come before the select board for an appointment. I typically will only look, for the most part, at resumes, just technical skills and all that, unless there's some other factor, because it's not the only thing that I look at. I also look at how long has somebody been in town? Are they male or female? I like to have some diversity. Are they going to bring a new perspective to the board that I think is important? Character, what you say and the actions that you take matter a lot to me. And the ability to work within a committee and a team context is also important. That's the reason that I'm asking you about some of the things that you have done with relationship to the town. Again, you have every right to do that, but you have to understand that we also have to, as a board, we have to consider your actions and the way that we view those actions.
I completely understand that, sir. And let me have a quick
Sure.
quick second here to respond. I didn't know I was going to be put on the hot plate like this about other issues besides an ambulance committee tonight. But when it comes to character, I would just like to point out that I held a security clearance with the United States government for a very long time. So I have a high character. So I take it very personal that you're going to accuse me of certain things right now of not having character.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm telling
Sir.
you exactly what you did.
And I know what
You
I did.
initiated those actions.
And you know why I
not
did?
me.
Because I care for every resident in this town, and they deserve to have an EMS response time that's not going to cost them any medical problems. And I see that, and I listen to the radio traffic, and I know what I'm listening for because I've been in this business for 25 years, sir. So why I initiate those actions is on behalf of every resident and visitor in this town who deserves quality emergency medical services and response. We deserve to have a policy in place with the fire department to actually properly respond as first responders and use their EMTs and write patient care reports when there's not an ambulance stationed within the border of this town. And those costs should be recouped through the MedStar contract if they're not staffing properly. I'm just saying, I'm bringing concerns that people in this town should be worried about because it deals with their lives.
Understood.
So those concerns are coming to us. They're coming to the town administrator. They're coming to the fire department. They are coming to us, and those are being addressed. They're being understood. I'm sorry that the EMS service doesn't meet your personal standards. The approach that I've seen is very much me against the world, and with kind of an axe to grind against the town. I don't know what to do with that as a potential appointment. I just don't, to be honest with you.
And that's fine, sir. And that is absolutely, you're right. As a selectman up there to cast your vote in either way you wish to go. But I'd just like to point out that I worked with the Hogan administration, which is a Republican administration running the mass vaccine site in Hagerstown. I've worked with the Biden administration on my deployment to the southern border. So I can work across party lines. And it's very clear in my resume that I have done that in the past.
This is completely not political.
It
I'm
just
just
seems that
looking
way.
at how you're relating to the town. And I just, personally, I have difficulty with it.
Okay.
So I'll shut up because I've talked a lot.
You're doing great. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
I don't want it to seem like piling on, but I feel like I'm in a similar boat. You know, and even in this decision, I appreciate the passion with which you bring to things. But I worry about, you know, the collaborative nature of a committee and, you know, one voice being significantly louder than the others. And it's, again, with being completely honest, it's a tough decision to make at this point. You know, based on what I feel we've seen for performance in the past.
And I'm going to appreciate the time that the town has given me right now to present my case for this. I do hope that you do pick me for the committee. I do have the most experience in this and dealing with public safety matters. So I'll leave it at that, but my case has been made. I've shared my concerns about the EMS response in this town, so I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Next up, we have Mr. Todd Kramer.
Okay, I'm Todd Kramer. I'm from 1 Peters Way in Grafton. I've lived here for 18 years, and I've always wanted to do a little bit more civic duty, but I don't have a lot of experience in finance or town government or conservation. But I saw the advertisement, so I went ahead and applied. I started out as an EMT when I was 18, when I was in college, and I worked for the Mountain Area Volunteer Fire Department in Maryland, and I graduated through college and earned my degree in paramedic health services. And I worked as a paramedic for many years and all over the country in different aspects and different practices in critical care transport and basic level transport and air transport. I even worked with Maryland, and in Maryland I worked with the MSP service, which does the helicopter and trauma services with shock trauma. And then I worked in Canada for a while, and then I came to Boston and worked in 2 private ambulance services in the Boston City area that had mutual services with Boston EMS. So I've held a paramedic up until 2003, and then when I went back to school, got a master's degree, and started working as a physician assistant. And I specialized in geriatric services since 2003 until about a couple years ago when I needed to take a break from work. So here I applied, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to get involved with my town. So here I am. So.
Excellent.
So the only question I have is, I do believe, and I'll have to defer to Mr. Mead on this. When does the ambulance committee typically meet?
The ambulance committee meets on, I would say, on demand. We do not have regular meetings. We do have, constant communication with MedStar and review all of our ambulance calls, but we don't meet unless there's a contract negotiation or there's an issue. And so we have met twice this year. So.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if it was like a daytime versus nighttime meeting and how that would work with your schedule at all.
My schedule's fine.
Pretty flexible.
It's very flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have seen some of the meetings or read some of the minutes, or I saw the meeting where Ray did a update for you, and that's in the charge where every 3 months he has to provide an update, and it looks like he's just basically running through their statistics. It looks like he actually went to their dispatch, talked to them, reviewed what they were doing, and then reviewed some of the problems that did come up during the contract. So I know Ray was looking at the numbers and looking at the the response times and then how they were doing that and how they were going to respond to that. And it was clear that they were having staffing issues because of COVID and being able to get enough people on board. And I understand that. I'm pretty aware of that. I worked in private ambulance for a long time, and I know what staffing's like. I know what running 32-hour shifts are like. It's brutal. It's hard work. It really is.
I'd like to hear that you read the charge for the committee.
I did. You have 3 parts of the charge that have to be fulfilled. So I'm open to that.
Any other questions or comments? Ray or Anne-Marie, any questions or comments?
Nope.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kramer.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Mead.
I move to appoint Todd Kramer to the ambulance committee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor by roll call. Matt?
Aye.
Colleen?
Andy, aye.
Ray?
Mead, aye.
Anne-Marie?
Foley, aye.
Okay. Declare the motion carried. Congratulations. Up next, we have the Conservation Commission. First, we have Travis Mast. He is joining us on Zoom. Hello, Travis.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name's Travis Mast, 34 Keith Hill Road in Grafton. I have over 15 years of experience in the environmental field. I currently am a program manager for the U.S. DOT research wing of the DOT. I focus on endangered species consultation and environmental compliance on large transportation projects. I've lived in Grafton about 8 years. Prior to moving here, I was in the Midwest working on habitat restoration, wetland delineation, wetland permitting. Like I said, I've lived in Grafton 8 years. I've not joined a commission. The kids are getting older, so I have more time. I'm personally interested in conservation, obviously, since that's my career and my passion. I'd like to help the commission, of course, uphold the state wetland regs and the local town wetland bylaw, and also help out with help conserve the great conservation properties that we have in town. So I think my experience in wetland permitting, habitat restoration would be beneficial to the commission. And I'm also just interested in getting involved and helping out my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Mast? Nope. All right. Thank you. Up next is Brian Morgan. Hello.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Brian Morgan. I live at 47 Worcester Street. I've lived at Grafton for 3 years now. I have a master's degree in architecture. Worked as an architect for a few years. Last about 10 years, I've been working at a couple general contractor companies. I'm a project manager there. I've done a wide variety of projects, both in architecture and construction. I've done some projects related to conservation as well. A lot of site work projects and to like the office fit up and corporate side of things. I applied for the committee because I was interested in the work that they've been doing. I've been listening to the meetings the last few weeks. And I was interested in the presentation they did on the 95 North Street project as well. And I've been looking to join a committee to get involved in my town. I really like it here. Like I said, I've only been here for 3 years, but I've enjoyed it so far, and I want to get involved in my town.
Very nice.
Nice.
Does the board have any questions or comments? Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're lucky to have so many people who want to volunteer. It's very nice. All right, I can take a motion if anybody's ready.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ray.
I move to appoint Travis Mast to the Conservation Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? I will say I think we were very lucky to have two very qualified candidates to come out for this position, and to just, Brian, keep looking. There's definitely going to be a place for you. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So motion
Thank
made and
you.
seconded. We can do a roll call vote. Matt,
Often aye.
Colleen, aye.
Jefferson, aye.
Ray.
Mead, aye.
Foley, aye.
All right. Declare the motion carried. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Up next is the appointment of town planner Fiona Coughlin. She is not able to attend tonight, but hopefully will come to a future meeting, so we'll just take a motion for that.
Sure. I move the board vote to affirm the appointment of Fiona Coughlin as town planner.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor by roll call.
Often I.
Colleen, aye.
Jefferson, aye.
Mead, aye.
Foley, aye.
All right, declare the motion carried. For the first,
Madam Chair, before we move on, do you want to just tell the applicants about, they'll get a letter in the mail and then they'll come and get sworn in?
that.
Yep. So you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. You'll get a letter in the mail and then you can come to the clerk's office. She'll swear you in and you'll be on the committee and get correspondence from that group.
But you can stay.
But you
It's
can
a
stay.
super,
Totally
no
up to you.
pressure.
I just like to say that because I would like to go with you if I could.
No. So, up next we have a proclamation for Andy Shelberg. Hello, Mr. Shelberg, how are you? So the Grafton Select Board, on this date, the Select Board honors the U.S. Air Force veteran Andy Shelberg for his outstanding dedication to the town of Grafton. Andy has led the charge mentoring the community's Eagle Scouts while locating the graves of Grafton military veterans. He has invested several years to this incredible work to help memorialize and honor our veterans. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Grafton, do hereby proclaim this date, December 6, 2022, to be Andy Shelberg Day, and call upon our citizens to especially honor his service to the Town of Grafton. So I'm going to give you this proclamation, okay? Up next is Troop 107 for their 100th anniversary. We have Mark Carlson joining us on Zoom.
Good evening, Mark Carlson, 30 Meadowbrook Road, Grafton, Mass. I am also an assistant scoutmaster with Troop 107. Troop 107 is going to be celebrating its 100th year anniversary in 2023. We've been a part of this community for all that time, chartered through the Congregational Church. Is part of our initiative to help celebrate 100 years of scouting here in Grafton in the troop. One of the activities that we are putting together is we'd like to plant 100 trees in Grafton to celebrate each one of those years that the troop has been in existence. The plan that we've discussed internally with the troop is to do this through a kind of collaboration between private citizens who wish to have a tree planted where the scouts will actually come in. They will dig the hole in the appropriate spot, plant the tree, and then set it up for proper care. And that way the homeowner or the property owner can enjoy that tree and neighbors can enjoy it as it continues to grow. But the other part of that collaboration that we're seeking is to work specifically with properties in and around the town where we can plant trees that will benefit all citizens of Grafton. So the approach of that for tonight would be to work with the board and any other departments within the town to see what properties would be best suited, obtain the proper permissions that we would need to do as we move into the spring of 2023, and then of course set up a care program for those trees, particularly as we wait for them to take root and continue to flourish. I'd be happy to answer any questions along those lines of what we're trying to undertake.
Thank you. That sounds like a really great plan. How would a homeowner contact you guys about getting a tree planted on their property?
Great question. So when we go to kick off this program next year, it'll probably be early spring when we'll start to do that. So that way we can make sure we're beyond frost. We're in the process of sourcing trees as well. We've looked at, and I apologize for the long answer to your question, but just some additional background here. We are looking for trees that are a little bit more mature, which requires some fundraising on the part of the scouts to pay for those trees. So when we are ready, we will put notices up on social media around the town. We'll also do postings with community newspapers to alert the citizenry of when we're kicking off this project. And, we'll do this on a first come, first served basis.
Very nice. I believe we have the tree warden here. If you would like to come up and give your thoughts on it at all, or is that...
Sounds fine to me.
Sounds fine to you. Great.
All right, people to dig holes and plant trees.
Excellent. All right, does the board have any other questions or comments?
I would just say don't apologize for the long answer because you answered a couple questions that I had queued up already.
Mr. Carlson, what kind of trees are you looking at?
Ideally, what we would like to do is trees that are typically native to Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's going to be, of course, subject to sourcing those trees and making sure that we can acquire those at a reasonable cost without completely breaking the bank.
Perfect.
But we've already been in contact with some people on the national level as well as some other states to find trees that, again, are normally found within Massachusetts. Oaks, maples, trees like pines, things that you normally find in central Massachusetts.
Got it. I asked the tree warden to come in. So thank you for coming in. He may have some ideas on the types of trees, the care that they'll require, and sort of longevity and where we put them. So I think if we move forward with this, it'd be good for you to coordinate your thinking with the warden.
Absolutely,
I'm a
absolutely,
huge-
and of course working with the Conservation Commission as well to make sure that we're planting within areas that are designated. We don't want the scouts putting trees in a wetland, things like that, if it's not appropriate.
Absolutely. So I'm a huge proponent of this. I think it's great. More trees obviously is better for shade and for the environment and whatnot. So
Aren't we designated like a tree community too, or something like that?
Or
So that,
green
that helps
community.
with
Tree
that.
City, USA.
Tree City, USA. There you go.
Tree City, USA, Grafton.
Perfect.
Yep. I think it's a great idea.
All right.
Wonderful. I'll be happy to reach out to the board, and as once we get through the end of the year into the beginning of next, so we can start at least putting pieces together that we'll need in order to to help move forward with this. So I appreciate everybody's time this evening.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're going to take the next item out of order. We're going to jump down to G and do the land acknowledgement discussion. We have a couple tribal council members, it looks like, joining us on Zoom. Welcome. And we're talking about the land acknowledgement. We're just continuing the discussion that we had previously. That was brought to us by some members of the community, and we wanted to talk about, creating our own language around that, and we just wanted to make sure that, all members that have input on this have been heard. So, am I teeing that up as everyone remembers it?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I know Andy's been doing some work on this as well, so if you want to take the lead on this. That
Sure.
would be...
Matt and I both, but yes.
Oh, Matt too, sorry.
So again, just an additional, I guess, note on that recap is that it was an initiative brought forth by, a citizen. It wasn't initially brought forth, something that the board came up with. We agreed to, as we wanted to revise the language, that we would, take up the mantle afterwards. As such, once we got it back on the agenda, I reached out to the Nipmuc Nation Tribal Council, and kind of brief them on everything you just passed along, and invited them to attend tonight's meeting. First of all, to establish if this was an appropriate action and something that they wished for, and then to obviously get their thoughts and continue the dialogue in an appropriate fashion.
So I'd like to welcome Jennifer and Candia on Zoom. If you guys have any thoughts or input you would like to give this evening.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having us tonight to this conversation and welcoming us. And also just thank you for reaching out to us and having us be a part of this conversation and action for the, Grafton government. So my name is Jennifer Vickers, and I am Nipmuc and Narragansett. I was born in Worcester. I relocated to Seattle, Washington, where I reside now on the land of the Duwamish and the Coast Salish people. I am on the tribal council and from here, and I'm happy that you're interested in getting our input on this conversation tonight. I can share my reflections and my recommendation as a Nipmuc citizen, but also as a Native person. And I'm very involved in a lot of the work on the West Coast and the East Coast. And the Nipmuc tribe is very similar to what the Duwamish people here in Seattle have gone through as far as being removed from the land and still trying to live and come back to the land. And these land acknowledgements from a perspective of, the government and the city of Grafton, where our reservation is such a huge step forward. And I think as far as creating a land acknowledgement that is suitable for the government or the city, excuse me, I'm not sure exactly how you are called. The town of, what do you guys call yourself?
Town of
Is it
Grafton.
the government? Okay, sorry.
It's fine.
And I would just suggest that you come up with something that feels action oriented, and giving acknowledgement to the land is like a really wonderful step forward. But just thinking about when you're crafting this language of how it's going to be there, something with some action behind it, and a few suggestions. And I'm happy to share some information with Andy after this call with some projects that I've worked on. I'm also creating an official land acknowledgement for the Gates Foundation, where I work my day job. So I'm familiar with how to help non-Native organizations craft these type of statements. So in that, I would say something that is already in motion with nature conservancy, or something that you're doing in the town of Grafton already around water rights and water preservation, the native fish of the area, something that is attainable to, we are setting, we acknowledge this land, and that we're accessing the resources of the original people of this area, and X, Y, and Z. So have that be something that feels attainable to you all. It could be around education. It could be around supporting activists and people in the area that are doing great work, or some of the nonprofits in the area. Anything that, again, that just kind of feels comfortable with you guys. I'm happy to look at the language and help you as you start to craft that. But it's better that it come from you versus something that comes from us and that we give it to you to say, because we want you to believe in what you are stating.
She made some really good points there that are very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I don't have questions. As a comment, it just feels like, even in this aspect, I feel like I've started on the wrong foot. Starting with, thinking about acknowledgements that, my company uses in my 9 to 5, or things that have been suggested. Because what I'm hearing is that it should come from us, and we take guidance from some of those words, but that it needs a little bit more personalization, and and to be made a little more specific to Grafton itself.
I think we could chisel out a little time during our goals meeting too, when we're doing that kind of soul searching and thinking, and try to come up with that language to be a good jump off point.
Yeah, and I'll just add, and going through these exercises in my own world, if 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 it's the opposite, if we are to provide something for you to all read, like as a blanket statement that you read at the beginning of your meetings or biannually or whatnot, it becomes something that you are just reading, and it can be. I'm not saying that that's the case, but it can become something that's what you see other organizations as, like a checkbox, and not something that you're actually feeling a part of like you're in the actual acknowledgement of it. You've built your values into that. Like it's something that you're kind of relating to as far as where you live. And also there's a great app that's online, and there's a phone number that you can actually send a text message to know exactly whose land you're on, wherever you are in the world. And I also recommend that people use that type of that understanding and education, so that you can also teach people in your world on how to acknowledge where the land and space in which they visit. So understanding that, like if you're in Connecticut, or if you're taking a trip to the ocean, and understanding like, oh, this is someone else's land now, and paying some type of respects to that land, and understanding the people that were there before you.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Do we want to hear from Candia?
Ms. Flynn, do you have any additional input you'd like to share? Maybe not.
Okay.
Candia and her family are have just come down with the flu, and they live in Canada right now.
No.
So I know that she's not feeling well, but she's here present because of the meeting.
Well,
Okay.
I really appreciate her attending in her condition. I hope
Yeah.
you feel better. All right, so this sounds like something that we still need to do more work on, but I'm glad we've heard from all the stakeholders now, and they've really given us a great direction to head in. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to join us this evening.
Thank you. And I'm happy to partner with you on this journey. So please, don't let this be the only time we meet. And again, just reach out anytime. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
deeply
Madam-
appreciate
Good
it.
night.
Chair. So I just wanted to make a couple comments. I too may have approached this a little bit sideways. I think it needs to start from the relationship first. I love the idea that we would have an action-oriented initiative, I suppose, or acknowledgement. I don't feel comfortable with this just as a checkbox exercise. I think if we're going to do it, we should do it with the spirit of cooperation and coordination and relationship building with the local Indigenous community. I think that's actually what's the important thing, not the acknowledgement necessarily. So I think we should just keep the lines open, continue to try to improve that relationship and work with them to develop this acknowledgement as we go forward. I'm not looking to necessarily rush the process for any. That was my instinct in the beginning, is to not just sign off on something. I don't think anybody on this board really likes that. And I think that was a good instinct. So now that we're sort of connected with them, let's develop that relationship and go forward to develop this in a joint way.
That sounds good.
Wholeheartedly agree. It was something that I came prepared to speak to tonight. I think we both did, with options to discuss, but having had that discussion with the tribal council, I have a much clearer direction for, which way I think we should go. And I think we already make a lot of these commitments in our actions anyways, towards waterways and conservation and stuff. So it's good to reaffirm those things in that. And I'm incredibly thankful that they were able to join tonight, and that they've offered to help, guide and usher us through this process in a collaborative way. I don't want it to be one-sided, and I'm very happy with the discussion we just had.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Ray and Anne-Marie, do you guys have any input on this?
Well, I'm just going to chime in. It's Anne Marie on that. I fully agree with the person who just presented, and I apologize, I'm away, so I didn't catch her name. But That was my concern, with when I first joined the board, there was one proclamation that were word verbiage that was brought to us. And then additionally on this one where, we're being asked just to, assume that we're going to take on this verbiage without doing any due diligence in terms of, who are we representing and are they in fact, being a part of this at all? And in fact, it seems like perhaps they weren't. So I do appreciate Matt's comments and I wholeheartedly agree. And I would love to look at it more from an action-oriented angle. I think that makes perfect sense to me. So thanks, that's all.
Thank you. Ray?
I think that was great to have Jen on the meeting. It gave us all a little insight as to how these land acknowledgements go, and I think we can work on that at our goals meeting, and I think we have some great direction after tonight.
Awesome. So I think we're all on the same page with this, and that's great, and we'll keep working on this as we move forward. Up next on the agenda is the Community Emergency Response Team CERT, and we have a presentation from Kathy Cedarberg.
Glasses on so I can see what my note. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Andy for all that you've done. You have no idea the amount of work and volunteerism that man and his family have done. So thank you. Appreciate your help. Anyway, Community Emergency Response Team, CERT, okay? We are a national organization, nationally supported, I should say, locally implemented team. And what we do is we teach people how to prepare for hazards in their own community. And we go through it. Since 2003, we have been training people in the town of Grafton. That was our first team that was trained. And that was in team organization, disaster medical, fire safety, light search and rescue, disaster psychology, and also how to deal with terrorism. Not exactly what you're thinking of all the big terrorism. We're talking, the shooters and that type of thing. So this is a locally organized team that has a national curriculum. And we brought this in through emergency management since 2003, like I said, and it frees up the professionals in the police and the fire to help that they can go do the critical jobs and we can do the grunt work. The types of things that we have done in the last bunch of years were, we assist in traffic control. We notified citizens of an evacuation order when there was some flooding in town. God, that must have been 2005, 8, I don't know. It was back there. We filled sandbags for Green Acres. We assist the medical response team with their clinics and drills. We assisted the town meeting, if you recall, in the last few years. We were there to remind people to bring their masks, to help with the parking, and just assisting them to the outside, and that was with Ray's assistance then. We also did town bike races back when we did those down Wheeler Road. I was on Wheeler Road. That was the scariest thing. Those bikes are going fast. But also the road races in town. We've also done sheltering, and that's going to be our primary goal, is to get back into the shelter. What happened is in 19, 20, we lost a lot of members due to moving out of town, age, and just plain lack of interest, okay? So the current team, and I'm going to name them in a couple minutes, we recruited and we got 7 more people. And in this day and age, trying to train 7 more people at a cost to the town of about $1,500, it's about 12 to 14 hours of training. Plus we do it additionally each time we try and bring out more training, radio training. We're going to be doing shelter and shelter management, how to do the food, because the shelter isn't any good if you don't have food prepared. don't think that the Red Cross is going to come to the little town of Grafton, okay? So we have to be somewhat prepared ourselves, and we also have to do it somewhat regionally. So I have reached out to the city of Worcester. They have a CERT team. There is a group out in the Sturbridge area that also has a CERT team, and we share, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So I want, because they just became graduates, I kind of want to bring them up forward. Everybody, Sue too, come on. Now, we had 3 remaining members, myself, Beth Mena, and Sue Novia, who have been with us for a long, long time. And now, I'd also like to bring up, come on up, everybody. Lisa, you're first because you're an Anderson, you're an A. Lisa Anderson.
Hi.
Hello. Okay.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Kurt
Thank you.
Penny
We know about
Sue.
Kurt. We hear from him all the time.
Boulder, that's what I was like, oh my God, I'll never say it right now. I'm like, froze, but yeah, thank you. And then Marianne DeVries. Okay, and
Dan House.
Hey,
and
Dan.
his lovely wife who is missing right now, and also we have another member who is out on work, so she wasn't able to come. But I just want to make sure that you are aware that Grafton Emergency Management, we're training, we're responding. I would love to see us get into the schools and train some of their response teams, because what we have is a program that works. It works. The earthquakes, it works with hurricanes. We have been around and we have been involved, and even just locally, if somebody falls down and hurts themselves, we're here. We know what to do, and we also know CPR now, which we hope that we never have to use. But it gets the training from the police department with the fire department. We had the ambulance service also helping to train us. So it's a group that volunteers that'll help when there is a need. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to present them to you. And also probably next time I ask, I'm probably going to have to ask for another 1,500 because I want to increase this team. Our budget is, so, but that's beside the point. I always have an ulterior motive. So thank you very much. And I want to say thank you to you guys. Hey, without you, we wouldn't have a team. So thank you.
And we want to thank you,
Thank you very much, Kathy. Thank all of you
Thank
for
you all.
volunteering. It's wonderful work that you guys do.
Kathy, quick question, Kathy.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
So I'm gonna encourage anybody who's interested to
Contact me.
to get in touch with Kathy.
Yes, I'm the town emergency manager, so I am listed in the selectman's office, have my name and number. So anybody who is interested, we will be going through social media, the Grafton News, and we have some flyers. So we will be looking for another team next year.
Perfect. I hope you'll be asking us for more budget. Is there anything else the select board can do to support you guys?
Oh, I could always use more money. Come on. Oh, yeah, these are very glow in the dark, don't you think?
Love it.
But we have jackets. We do? So, all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, up.
7's a big number. I like that we have, recruited 7 new people, and little jealous that we have some issues staffing other committees and stuff. So it's great.
Gotta get Kathy
Thank
on
you.
every committee. Up next is Chief Matthew. And we're gonna review the 90-day plan update. Hey, Chief, how
90
are you?
days / 180.
I am going to share that. Right?
So, the chief brought in some material that we'll be sharing on screen for our remote members. And, yeah, take it away.
Well, I was hoping to get all this stuff out to you sooner, but I have a lot of irons in the fire right now. So, spent the day today in my 14-week Chief Fire Officer Management class that's going on at the Mass Fire Academy. So 8 hours of lecture already today. So sorry if I look tired. I just wanted to review my original 90-day plan that I put in. On the handout, I noted the original bullet points, and I had done some descriptive stuff on the first one, and this one I brought up what we've accomplished under those items. And if you want, I can go through it all, or if you want to review it, and if you have any questions, I can answer the questions. And I also provided, I think the next page is just some accomplishments that the department has made in the last 6 months, or since July 1. You know,
Andy, thank you.
Thanks again, Andy. Congratulations.
I also did 23 years with Grafton Fire Department.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, you did.
We
Done
ran
it
out-
all.
We ran out of lines on there, Andy.
Yeah.
That's our bad.
You have to come back a different day for
Get
that.
everything to fix.
I think a quicker thing would just be go over some of the accomplishments. A lot of those do highlight some of the stuff in the 90-day plan, so I don't want to take up too much time, but some of the things we've done is established a recruitment committee, established a training committee, and to add to that, I'll pick right off the bottom of my list here. Under the training committee and our officers and stuff, we've completed over 1,000 hours or personnel hours of training in the last 6 months. That doesn't include the members who have graduated from the Mass Fire Academy, who have done over about 300 hours themselves. And we did another 8 hours this past Saturday, and we have training booked out for the rest of the month in the old Knights of Columbus building on Ferry Street. So if you have time, I'll send you the schedule and you can come by and watch us work.
Yeah.
So,
Love it.
along with the recruitment committee, I brought in a flyer that they've put together with assistance from one of the seniors at Blackstone Valley Tech. Is doing this as a senior project, so helping the recruitment committee.
Nice.
And they've been excellent. They're attending all kinds of events around town, doing all kinds of promotion for us. I know some of you, or all of you, probably saw the Scarecrow, and when he was the lone standing Scarecrow, it was scarier then than any other time, I'll have to admit. So they've been doing a lot of great work with that. To throw some numbers at you, since January 1st, we've onboarded 10 new members. We've lost a few members due to retirements and stuff, as you know, and he left already, but Kevin has rejoined us, Kevin Gallagher.
Oh, fun.
He served with us for 10 years before, and now he's come back to give us a hand during the day where we're short and sometimes, and Kevin's, as we all know, an excellent driver of everything, including fire trucks, so he's going to be filling that role for us, so I'm glad to have him back.
Right.
Some of the other stuff, the highlights were we've created a working group for the SAFE program. That kind of fell off a lot with COVID and stuff like that. We reapplied for the SAFE grant and also the Elder SAFE grant, which will hopefully, if we get those grants, we'll be able to start getting back in the schools and working with the senior citizens in town to bolster those programs. One of my other things was the mission statement, which we've had and got on the website and will be posted at our stations. We're looking at gear. We've ordered what they call hoods, which is one of the last things we put on over our heads, that has a special barrier built into it so that the soot and carcinogens don't actually sit on our skin. And that's a big thing that's been going on in the fire services. They're realizing how much that's an issue with firefighters. So we're working towards that as protecting our own type thing. We've reviewed the apparatus and finalized the purchase for a new brush truck to replace a 1982 truck that was a regular pumper that the staff on the fire department actually upfitted themselves to work better as a brush truck, put reels of hose and stuff on it. So we're getting something a little more updated and reliable and a little smaller, so we can actually drive it in the woods and hopefully drive it back out. multiple promotions over the last 6 months, everything from deputy chief to captains, lieutenants, who we've been bringing in front of the board, which I think is great because it gives them the acknowledgement that they're needed, and you know, it's a big thing for what they're doing for the town. One of our other issues is call signs for radios. We issued those based on rank, and a numbering system based on rank and station identification. So if somebody signs on their personal radio from their car or their house, and as soon as they key up and say this is car 20, I know right away that that's the captain from station 2, so that everybody's able to identify it. The dispatchers will know who it is. In the past, using names and stuff, if a dispatcher didn't know a name, they would say, who's this? When there's an emergency going on, and it's kind of tough to explain who you are when you need something quick. So we brought that on. We have implemented a new promotional policy. Over the years, we've tried numerous different things to see what works best, and we kind of settled on something similar to what I went through to become chief, a little bit of an assessment center, and also a written multiple choice test, and having an actual study guide for people that want to move up to officer positions. Leave it a level playing field and kind of take the good old boy network out of it, I guess is a good way to put it. We've applied for numerous grants from as I mentioned, the safe ones, Department of Fire Services grant, which we were awarded last year as well, but this year we put in to hopefully buy some more new turnout gear. That is going to be a little better than the stuff we're wearing now, for the safety aspect. And worked with emergency management and put in for a grant for some radio equipment to hopefully do that, build up on our radio system now until we can get a new system in place, which we all realize is going to take a little bit of time. And as I mentioned, we also made up a release form with legal and and Evan, and for using the acquired structures. It's something we used to do years ago and fell out of for a while, but it gives the firefighters real world, hands-on, like everything from cutting holes in roofs to breaking doors down to gain access, and pulling plaster off ceilings and walls, so they can actually get the first-hand experience doing it, as opposed to when something's on fire and somebody's standing behind them yelling at them, do this, do this. They actually have hands-on. And again, with, like I said, with the hours that have come in, the firefighters have been just blowing my mind with the amount of stuff that they show up to, the amount of stuff I ask them to do, and they step up and do it. Like, I've actually stood up in front of them. I said, let me know when it's too much. And they're all like, nope, we're good. We'll do, what do you need? So it's been absolutely amazing. I know tonight we talked about ambulance stuff a lot. We instituted a new dispatch protocol for the fire department and first responder response. So I worked with Chief Crapo and our officers to make sure that we could do the best we could for the town when the ambulance does have those times when they are tied up and busy. We are available and have a plan in place. And another big thing that I'm proud of, and again, huge on the safety side, is we have a accountability system, which is a tag system we use to keep track of firefighters in buildings, and the incident commander or an accountability officer will actually keep track of, say, engine 2's on the second floor, ladder 1's in the basement. So we can keep track of that. We implemented a new procedure on the use of that, and we kind of bolstered the system that we have already with some new hardware and stuff like that. So those are my highlights. So it's been very busy. Like I said, a lot of irons in the fire. Still a lot of things going on with the radio system. Working with Evan on the regional dispatch study and things of that nature. So we're busy.
All right. Well, thank you for the recap. There's quite a list of accomplishments in that 6 month period. Does the board have any questions or comments?
I had wondered if there was just an uptick of you guys having access to facilities to do those training exercises, or if it was an uptick in the amount that you were posting to social, just having seen them on the Grafton Fire page. So I think it's great that you guys were able to work out some, real life in-person training scenarios like that.
And I can't thank the owners enough. Most of them either reached out to us or through development team meetings and stuff, and inspectional services, they've been, offered like, hey, would you like to use the building? And it's, again, invaluable for us. It's amazing. So,
yeah, it's great.
I definitely want to go see one the next time you have one going.
I will forward our schedule. We've got a couple of Saturdays planned and a few evenings and a couple afternoons planned for that.
Fantastic.
So,
I do have one question. That number one there, it says establish a recruitment committee. Usually when you're talking about recruitment, it's always recruitment and retention.
Yep.
Where's the retention part of that?
So far, we're doing good with retention.
Okay, all right.
I think a lot of the retention piece has come forward with the giving the members more to do, more responsibilities and stuff, and that we're getting the buy-in that they want to participate. They're showing up more, and I think that speaks for itself. We have brand new members that are calling me and saying, "Hey, is it okay if I go in and do some training?" And I say, "Hey, call a couple other people, call your company offices, and work something out. It doesn't have to be 50 people there or whatever, but if you guys want to do it, go to it." So it's very refreshing and stuff to see that, their commitment and stuff. So.
Okay, so retention's, you feel pretty confident in it currently?
Pretty good right now.
That makes me feel good. Okay, great.
I mean, there's always the bigger picture of things that, we could do in the future as far as some of the things that were mentioned in the study and things of that nature. But right now, my focus has been on the recruitment part, and like I said, they're picking up the ball on everything else. So
Perfect. All right. Ray, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Eric, you and your offices and the members of the department have done a hell of a job.
Thank you.
Thought there was going to be more. Very nice. All right. Anne-Marie, do you have any comments or questions at all?
No, thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming in and reviewing this. Unless you have
I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love it. Sorry.
I can't let an agenda item go by without
It's
saying
okay.
something.
It's okay.
No, I'm impressed with the amount and variety of things that you guys have been tackling. It's great to see that you're building out your command structure, providing opportunities for the, for the firefighters on the department. It's fantastic. I love that you're working on recruitment, retention, promotion. You're sort of going across the whole gamut. Having a really active training program, I think is fantastic. The only question that I had was around, and this is true for the board, just discussing the SOPs and SOGs. I think our purview has us at least reviewing policy according to the statute, and we don't really have a mechanism for that right now. And I don't know if that's typical or, but so you guys are developing your internal policies and whatnot. Yep. I don't obviously, and I think aside from Ray, we don't have a lot of operational knowledge of what happens in the fire department. Yep. But I think that is part of our role, is to actually review policy. So, we, I don't know. One of the things that I want to bring to the goals meeting is for us to develop some kind of working relationship with you that's a little bit more consistent than it has been.
Yeah.
Because this is new for us.
Yeah.
It's new for you.
Yeah.
So I love everything that I'm seeing, but I think we need to have some discussions about how we're gonna work with you on things like that. I don't have any specific concerns, but I would prefer that we discuss it and maybe put together some policy around how often are we going to meet. What are our expectations?
So a policy to review policy?
Sort of. Yes. Yeah. So just, yeah, I think it's something that needs to be evolved over the next year or so. So obviously you've been heads down trying to do the immediate kind of tactical stuff of getting things organized, understanding where, if we have any opportunities to improve and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, now that you've got a little bit more command structure, you've got a little bit more resource available, it's probably appropriate to start having those discussions. So, but great work.
Do you mind sending out your promotional policy just so that
No,
we can
absolutely,
take
yeah.
a look at that and
Yep.
start getting our heads around? That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Alright. Before I shut it down, any other questions or comments?
General one. I will underscore this every time. I love when we work with BVT to do stuff and produce materials. I reach out to them when it happens, just saying in here. Real world experience is wonderful and crucial in a lot of these fields, and I love that we collaborate and get to, you know, it's win-win for both. So
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and
Thank you
continue
very
all the
much.
great work. You're
Thanks,
doing awesome. Okay, up next is the bylaw study committee feedback. So what the goal with this tonight was the bylaw study committee sent the select board a memo saying, hey, we want feedback and get it to us by this date, and that date sailed away. So what we were coming with tonight is all of our input that we want to send over to the bylaw study committee. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Does anybody have any questions or comments they want to submit to the bylaw study committee about our bylaws?
This is Anne Marie. I can just real quickly comment. I sent over some things directly to Dave. I guess I wasn't clear on how we were doing this. And I am about 2/3 of the way through, so I will continue. And if I should send those comments and or edits elsewhere, let me know.
Okay, so you're just going to do it as an individual, is what I'm hearing.
I guess I wasn't sure. I can do it whichever way you'd like, but that's how I've done it so far, to date.
Okay. I suppose it doesn't really matter. Did anybody, so it sounds like you had some, can you just share what you've already sent over so we don't duplicate your work? What were some of the things that you caught or wanted to bring to
Yeah, I had a number of comments, and I'm not at home right now. I'm traveling, so I don't have my edits, but I can certainly get that to you around next Tuesday when I return.
Anne Marie, do you want me to forward that out so the board can have a chance to review and then
Yeah,
discuss
who
it?
did I send them to? To you as well, Evan? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did to Dave
Okay.
Robbins, but you copied me on it.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great, Evan. Thank you.
You got it.
And nobody
And I can either
replied to it.
continue myself going through them because I think it's a valid exercise for me anyway. I just did this. I was the chair of a bylaw review committee just last year, and I thought it was a very valuable, tedious but valuable experience just the same. So I'll continue to go through them, and I'll continue to come up with edits, and I can forward them to whomever you would like, and or collaborate with the board, however you'd like to see me do it.
So Emery, I just wanted to clarify, are you going through all of the town bylaws or are you just sticking to the select board bylaws?
I'm going through all of them.
Okay. I'm not totally sure that that's what they were asking of us because that's what
I understand, but the ones that they asked us about specifically were obviously part of all of them. So yeah, I'm going through all of them. So I guess I could send you edits relative just to the ones that they indicated. That's perfectly fine. Again, it would be after next Tuesday but I'll still continue to go through all of them.
Are you our representative on that committee? Because it sounds like you might want to be.
No, I do not want to be, but thank you.
It's because it sounds like you're doing the work.
I know.
It makes
Ray,
sense.
Ray already asked me at that town meeting, and thank you, Andy, for stepping in. I appreciate it. No, I'm quite overextended, but I will do my due diligence on my part. I just prefer not to be on another committee. Thank you at this time.
Okay. All right. So, anybody else looking at our select board bylaws have anything jump out at them? For me, I was looking at section 7 and I wanted to kind of maybe update that, and I didn't know how anybody felt about that. But we can go section by section, or how would you guys like to do this?
Article 5, Section 7?
Article 5, section 7.
Okay. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure exactly how to do this.
Okay.
I do have a few comments, and things to discuss, I suppose. So mine are pretty brief though. So I'll just give you a flavor of the types of things that I was looking at. If we look at Article 1, Section 9, we go through kind of our appointments and whatnot. Are we covered with the strong chief provision with our appointment of the fire chief?
That's a good one.
Is one of my questions. I'll just keep going because they're pretty brief. Article 4, Section 4, it talks about the town seal. We've been approached by the idea that we may want to reconsider the town seal. There's no actual process for changing the town seal. So it might be something that we would put into our general bylaws in terms of what's the process, how does it get updated, who can do it. I don't think it's not described anywhere that I could find. So that's something for them to consider. And then we can go to Article 5, Section 7, and you've got some commentary on that. I do as well, so go for it.
Yeah, mine was just I wanted to update it to reflect some of the staff roles. You know, I've served as clerk, and I know I didn't do it as it's stated in that bylaw. So I'd like to have it reflect how it actually is, where you know, enter the records and orders and proceedings into a bound book. I never did that once. You know, we have staff to do that, so I want it to be more accurately reflecting what's happening.
That was my question too. And are we actually complying with this? Because I'm not aware of a bound book that's given to the. Does that happen? Okay.
No.
So that's something we just need to update.
Right, yeah, it's just antiquated.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Article 12. I think we should consider a noise ordinance in terms of safety and order. I don't know whether that's appropriate, but it's something that has come up certainly, and I think it's something that should be at least considered by the bylaw committee as to whether that's appropriate or not.
I think the planning board was looking at that,
Okay.
if I remember correctly. So it's probably a good thing to note, and then if they're not running that ball forward, then maybe that is something that the the bylaw review committee would take up.
Okay. We have.
I'm sorry, the what?
Bylaws.
Is working on the noise ordinance?
Okay, got it. So we've got a policy around food truck licensing. That might be another thing that in this section we would want to actually look at codifying into a bylaw, because obviously we've got kind of a start on it, and everything else is described in terms of licensing for, you know, the common victuals license, the alcohol licensing, that type of stuff. So I think we already have some language, so it would make sense to probably insert that, or at least consider it. Let's see. So Article 12, Section 21. So the language in that, and I'm just kind of drawing on my accessibility advisory committee experience. The language on that talking about disability and disabled, handicapped. So the language just needs to be updated on that to be more, because we don't talk about handicapped anymore, for example.
Right.
And we wouldn't say disabled veterans, we would say veterans who have a need for accessibility or whatever. So just the language generally, as far as the references to disabilities, I think just needs to be updated. Section 26, the marijuana usage, I think that probably needs to just be gotten rid of, or at least reviewed.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's not appropriate anymore. And then the last one that I had was Article 13 on earth removal. We're supposed to have public hearings. I'm not aware of any public hearings we've ever had for an earth removal permit. Is it? Have I just missed them, or?
No. So the only, all my experience has been earth removal permits go through the zoning board.
Okay.
So maybe the MGL points that way and our bylaws point somewhere else. So we'll have to just.
I think it
bring
just
up
needs
for
to be
review.
reviewed.
Yep.
Yeah, because
agreed.
as far as I'm concerned, we're not doing it.
No.
So it needs to be
No,
cleaned
we
up
don't-
one way or the
yeah,
other.
we don't want to be doing that.
That's as far as I got.
You got pretty far.
Yeah, it's a good start.
All right. Did you have any input?
Yeah, I need similar to Anne Marie. I thought this was more of an individual exercise, and I'm sorry for not asking for clarification on tonight's agenda item because I did submit not as in depth as some of Matt's feedback, but some feedback to the bylaw review committee after reading through the specific bylaws that they requested that we view, and for my own education, I tried to continue and go through the majority of them. It was, my again, I should have printed them and had them here tonight, so I apologize. But it was, I think, lighter lifts in there. A lot, we are aware that pronoun usage needs to be updated throughout. That's a big thing. I wasn't able to attend the meeting last week because I was sick, but the prior meeting we did discuss the noise ordinance, and I was excited because I was able to contribute to that conversation, having discussed some of those things here with the board. And I believe that's what we'll be, referring to is the air pollution ordinance that the state has. So yeah, it was just some general feedback around those things. There is, I can tell you from the committee perspective, there's a fairly large Excel doc that has all the bylaw, articles and numbers written out, who they're assigned to, who they've received feedback from, kind of because they reached out to all the boards and committees similar to us, to whoever's purview it seemed to apply to. So I know we are some feedback has been received. We're still in the process of receiving some other feedback, but progress is being made.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ray, did you have any input you wanted to give?
No, I'm all set for tonight.
Okay. There's also a lot of reconciliation between things that are written in the bylaws and might be duplicative in the town charter as well. And the homework of making sure we're still pointing to appropriate Mass General law in instances, and the committee's giving it a very thorough once over. So
As a committee representative, the way the other boards and committees have been doing it, has it been individual members sending their information off to the committee, or are you getting one response from the committee? What do you guys prefer to be receiving?
I don't have an answer for you on that.
Right. So I imagine, that looks like a detailed email ready to go, and it sounds like Anne Marie's already sent them off, and you're on the committee, so I imagine just keep trucking along. And
I'm just wondering if we should send it all to Andy and him compile it, and
I'm happy to do that, and I can bring it along with me. I mean, it's however the board wants to handle it.
As the rep, it's kind of up to you, but so I'm happy to do it either way. I think it's going to be easier for the committee to receive it all as a package.
that's what I'm thinking, but
Yeah.
it sounds like the train's already, so how to consolidate it now?
So I haven't given anything
Okay.
to the committee yet, so how about I just send it to you and you can integrate it with whatever you have already, and then because you're more familiar with the format and
And Anne-Marie, if you want to send the rest of the work that you're going to continue to do to Andy and
Yeah.
have him package that up.
Yeah, no problem. And I can clean up what I sent as well. I was just trying to get in some of my notes because I guess I thought the committee was coming tonight to speak to us. So I just wanted to get things out. So yep, I can first of all revise what I've sent already. I think Evan shared it. And additionally, I will keep going and I can just put it all through Andy for sure.
Okay,
Great.
great. All right,
Okay.
so now we all have a direction and we all are getting some feedback to the committee, which is what they wanted. And Anne-Marie, your hand is up.
Anne Marie's putting her hand up to let me know that she's going to need to jump into the meeting to tell you that she's going to log off.
Okay. So, good night, Anne-Marie.
Thanks, Emily.
I'm away and I apologize for background noise and I'm going to sign off for now. Thanks so much.
Okay,
Thank
have a
you.
good night. Up next is the ARPA home heating assistance, and we received a proposal that Ray wrote up. We received that today, and this is just to continue the discussion that we've had previously about trying to maybe secure some of the ARPA funding so that we can help Grafton residents that might be in need of assistance beyond some of the already available programs out there. So Ray, did you want to discuss your proposal here?
Yeah, so I put this together so that, we had a kind of a base of what to work on and get it before the board to get thoughts and ideas and changes or whatever, or what you're in favor of, what you're not in favor of. I mean, it's a pretty simple, pretty simple program. If you, I'm assuming that you've all read it, but we start off with there's numerous heating assistant programs, available through the state, local agencies, local churches, the food bank, and I think what my thought is on this is that we could put together a subcommittee from the board, to review requests for heating assistance, and it would be a certain amount, and then we can award that, pay the money directly to the utility or oil company or gas company or whatever it is, and use some of that opera money, or I know Evan had talked about getting money from finance or something else.
Right.
So it's this is what I came up with, and just throw it out there and see what everybody thinks, and see if you want to make any changes, or not that we're going to put it in place tonight, but it's something to think about. So
I have a comment. The only comment I have is I think we might want to make it my committee, and the reason for that is to avoid any public record creation for confidential information that people are sharing with us. We do have to be careful with putting select board members on a committee that we need confidentiality for. I think you could probably do one member. I would hesitate to have you put two members of the board on. You might want to pick that with somebody else.
okay,
I'm just thinking about the way we do this with tax abatement and how we make that a non-public meeting, because people don't want you're not going to get people to participate in the program if they're worried about public, airing their laundry. So that would be my only suggestion, is we find some way to maybe tweak that a little bit, but otherwise I think it's a viable program. We'd have to figure out what the thresholds are. Obviously, maybe that's what the smaller, maybe Ray, that's what your smaller group would do, right?
yes, yep,
Got it.
yep.
So we'd have to just put in place some criteria and some kind of intake form that people could fill out, which Ray, he mentions in here. But otherwise, I think it's a viable program.
So do we want to include members of maybe, the senior center who are already working with a pretty vulnerable population, as well as maybe even the assessor's office who are used to receiving abatements and already can probably identify some of the higher need residents pretty quickly when they are applying?
Yep.
Should we approach them so we don't have another situation where we're saying, hey, we created this, I don't have time to be on it kind of thing. I don't want that to happen.
Okay.
Well, because it's happened to us. We've already done that a couple times. We're
Yeah.
like, okay, we want so-and-so on this committee, and they say no.
Yeah, but I think if we did a member from senior center, assessors, my office, and then a member of the board, and if you want 5, we'll pick another department too, but I'm not worried really about split votes.
Yeah, no.
It's really just to review and make sure that we're meeting the criteria and we're spending the money appropriately. I have people in mind that I don't think would have any issue.
With doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need to create a more formal charge then, just so that this can continue for years
So
past?
the only thing I would like to do, I probably no.
Okay.
The only piece that I did not have time, I spent some time today reviewing the finance side of things. After I got Ray's proposal here, the only thing I want to just double check is the confidentiality piece, and so I would need to do that, and I would hesitate to have you appoint or create an official charge, because it might be something that's better served out of my office and not designated by the select board, but still achieves your goal and your vision. But I just want to make sure that we're not creating a place where we're not able to contain all the information.
Okay. So it is getting colder and we want to try to get this going as soon as possible. Do we know, has ARPA had an opportunity? Do we know when ARPA's meeting again? To just kind of notify
Not
them that
until
this is gonna,
It'll be after. So what I would recommend is that if you are interested in putting money into this, that you just decide an amount and vote it.
okay. Can we at least notify the ARPA committee?
No,
so
I
that-
will. Yeah, I will do that, and
Okay.
I've had.
Great. So is that what we want to do tonight? Is just pick a dollar amount and vote on it? Or is that still too soon?
That there, if you, it depends on how much control the board is willing to give up. So if you want to vote an amount, and then say we're going to turn it over to the TA's office to figure out the logistics of the internal piece of that, I'm more than happy to take that into my office and we'll run with it.
I'm comfortable with that, considering how delicate the information that you'll be receiving is. I don't mind giving up control for that. I don't know how everybody else feels.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
All right, and so what do you guys have left? Like 130,000, 180,000?
Yeah, about 180 plus some projects I think will come in under budget. So, you know, to TBD on a couple of those things.
So realistically, what are we thinking? Like $30,000 to start and see how quickly that dwindles down, or is that too much, too little?
I would, if I were going to make a recommendation, I would say 20,000 to
Okay.
start. I can still approach the finance committee,
Okay.
you know, so again, move money, you know, take from different pots so that we're spreading out the areas that we're drawing down funds from.
So I mean, if the board's comfortable with that, I will accept a motion.
I move that we transfer $20,000 from opera funds to be spent on Grafton resident heating assistant program to be run by the town administrator's office.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Okay, nailed it. And any discussion? You want to say something? Just say it. It's fine. That's what discussion's
Don't break
for.
the streak.
I'm not going to say anything.
But it's what discussion's for. All right, all going once. All those in favor, Matt,
Off tonight.
Colleen, aye.
Jefferson, I.
Right?
Mead, aye.
Okay, I declare the motion carried. So that gets the program going, and then you know, I'm sure that you're gonna start hearing from people pretty quick for that. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't know how
got.
to.
Yeah, we've got to do a couple of things, and then yeah, I think we'll.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Ray, for putting.
Ray,
it
thanks
together.
for bringing this up. It's a really important program. And, you know, there's few opportunities that the board gets to provide direct assistance to people in town. And I think this is a really good one. It's a really important one. So thanks so much for bringing it up.
Yep, you're welcome. And a little bit will help and you know, help the residents.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to be passing over the department head exit interview tonight. We'll be bringing that back in a future agenda. We're going to do the designation of a special municipal employee, and Evan will give us a little insight to that. And
Yep. Sorry, I lost my agenda here. So I've been working with school department. As you know, they're setting up a new program for kids between the ages of 18 and 22, young adults, I guess I should say, which will have more of that vocational life skills focus. Part of that is a relationship that we'll be forming with Mr. Brown from Bread Guy Breads. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. So in order to do that and to avoid conflict of interest, we need to designate the position that he will hold, that of vocational trainer, as a special municipal employee. Under Mass General Law, that's a requirement. So not uncommon and pretty straightforward.
okay. Does the board have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I can take a motion.
I move the board vote to designate the position of vocational trainer as a special municipal employee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor by roll call.
Often I.
Colleen, aye.
Jefferson, I.
Pete, aye.
Declare the motion carried. Up next is select board reports. Do any members have any select board reports?
Sure. Couple quick updates on the library. We are moving forward with the direction for the community and makers room doors, which we had some delays, but it's good final progress. One of the last things that needs to be done. The new design for the HVAC system for the historical documents room has been approved and will be going out to bid shortly. We had pulled the credit from our contract with CTA and chose to do that out of scope on the town side instead. ADA counter height adjustments are scheduled to start next week, and kind of good news, bad news, the flood test for the green roof yielded no results. We've had no additional leaks since that initial date, so it's just kind of a monitor situation. We've had all types of, drenching, driven, light soaking rains. They have not been able to replicate the circumstances to make that roof leak again. So, as of right now, we're kind of considering it closed, and it'll just be something we keep an eye on in the future.
Okay.
All right there.
Yeah. Too many cough drops in a short period of time.
That'll get you.
All hopped up on vitamin C.
Actually, I just wanted to thank you for your comments on the common, Indy. It was great.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we've got a menorah on the common now. Very exciting.
Yep.
It's really
yeah,
happy
for
to see
anybody
that.
who wasn't able to attend Grafton Celebrates the Holidays, we had a committee of private citizens that came forward to volunteer to do some fundraising to get a menorah for the common, which is, as Matt mentioned, a first for Grafton. I said it that night. I don't think you were present, but I did thank our town administrator for his involvement, and also Jen Anderson and the rec department, because they were all integral in getting this coordinated and done. So I was honored. They invited me to say a few words. I had volunteered just as somebody who could help them kind of navigate some government and put them in touch with people. We had a ceremonial lighting right before the tree lighting on Sunday, and there will be a larger event for the first night of Hanukkah.
18th.
Is that the 18th? Yes.
4:15 on the common.
Yep. So
Be there or be square.
very exciting. Yeah.
Excellent.
Colleen?
Ray.
Evan and I will be meeting with the developer at for Snow Road tomorrow. Evan, we haven't set up a time. I think it was at 10 o'clock.
He.
It is now.
No, it doesn't have to be 10 o'clock. It could be.
No, I'll text you because I'm booked for the whole morning. It would have to be early afternoon for me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, well, we can work it out. I'll shoot
As
you.
long as we can let him know. And
Yep.
the meeting's been pushed off
For this and that.
a few different times, and the last time we met with them was the beginning of October. So at that point, we asked them to come back with a different proposal. So we'll see what happens with that. We finally found a way to meet with Apple Tree Arts and the people at Apple Tree Arts, and now now I have the issue. so it's going to be probably not next week, but the week after. So
Okay. Thank you for all your hard work. We can go right into town administrator's report.
Sure. I'll just give you a brief presentation here. I can never do this efficiently here.
It's hard without William, huh?
It is. It's. All right. So, excuse me. Just run down real quick. We are deep into the budget process already. So our capital plan, we've had our initial meetings with CIPC. CIPC is meeting with the capital campaign for the library on Monday. One of the focuses of that will be discussing the cupola and other funding issues that we have with the library that will then impact our capital plan depending on money from what sources is going to kind of vet out there. Otherwise, we have a pretty good first pass, I think. I still have to sit back down with the school department and refine some of their requests and kind of figure out a better way to present some of that data. I just don't like the way that we're doing the accessibility piece, so we've got to figure out a better way to do that and track it in our plan. Projections, we've been working on the projections. As I had stated when I presented the projections, they are a living document. So we've been working really hard on trying to refine our staff costs and what that does year over year to get a better picture of what that actually does to the budget. Again, you know, if you do a 2% COLA and people also get a step for their longevity, what is that? It's not 4.5%. It's not 2%. It's all based on your number of pay cycles. It just, we need to do a lot of work on it. So we've been refining that. I think we've hit a pretty good sweet spot between effort and you know, a viable work product. So that came out really well. I've had my initial meetings with Jay about budget and expectations on both sides of that table as far as how we divvy up the pie and kind of those overarching goals. And that was all kind of part of the lead up to finalizing projection stuff. And Jay and I had that kind of high level conversation today. ClearGov, we've opened the budget in ClearGov. There's a disconnect between last year's budget book and this year's budget book, so I'm trying to reconcile that. It's not that big of a deal, but it's not as seamless as I had kind of hoped it would be. The rest of the budget seems to be working very well. We've been able to navigate all of those components. And the department heads are already starting to finalize their budget proposals. So I believe that we are going to look for second or third week of January, a joint meeting with FinCom and present the initial budget. So we're on track with that. I was just going back and forth with the chair of finance committee today on that schedule. So again, it says it right there. Mid-January to again the end of January is when we'll do some more revisions, and then it's really just hopefully that's our set structure, and then we tweak it as our revenues change and some other dominoes that we can't predict in January start to fall into place. My biggest concerns right now are you know, inflationary costs, staff costs, and health insurance. So which I'll talk about in a later slide here. So DE&I audit, we are working with the consultant on our questionnaire. So that's kind of the first pass, is that you put out a questionnaire to get a baseline. And so we're refining what those questions look like for both the schools and for the town side. So that's been a pretty fun exercise. Westboro Road Water Main, that's the ARPA project with Tufts and the Grafton Water District. And I did a site walkthrough with all of those folks today. I thought I would be necessary. I really was just walking along the side of the road looking at blue paint on the ground while they talked about valves. But it was actually very interesting. I learned more about water infrastructure, but was of no help to anybody, except for that when they asked if we were going to pay for it. Yeah, no, but that's moving, and that's great. So they were doing site work while we were there. There was a surveyor there. So, you know, the timeline right now is to get that to be out to bid by the beginning of May, pretty much, which is good. Puts us in a good competitive spot for that. It's gonna be ductile piping, in case you're wondering.
How big are the valves?
I don't know what that is.
It's gonna be what?
Ductile piping.
Ductile.
12-inch ductile.
12 inch?
Gotta be done. Can't afford
Thought
not
you
to.
guys were gonna go 18.
Yeah, right.
12.
Yeah, I did throw a couple of those in there. Complete Streets says in process, no update, but I did get an update today, and we're working on some behind the scenes kind of. We did our initial outreach. Now there's some behind the scenes paperwork stuff, and I'm working with our interim planner to do that while we wait for Fiona to come on board, and then I think we'll have some more movement on that. Probably in the first quarter of next year. So, the PEC, the Public Employee Committee, we've been meeting in earnest. We met on the 21st of November. We were not able to make an agreement, and we did not make the deadline to enter the GIC. Our deadline was December 1st, and we weren't able to make that agreement. So we're going to continue to work on that. We may have an interim solution that would impact employees less, and also have a minimal impact to the town's budget actually in the current fiscal year. So we're starting to vet that out and try to get something firmed up so we can get this budget process moving. ARPA committee, we kind of already talked about ARPA, and I didn't have an update for that. Our Office 365 program, we are 95% complete. We have our multi-factor authentication working for most of our users, and we just had one glitch with the library website domain host that we were able to work out today at about 4:30. So I think that means that we're going to be able to do the complete switch over by next week. So, but everybody's got everything's loaded, everything's queued, all the migration stuff is starting to work back and forth. It's just moving all the historical stuff over and flipping that switch. So that's good. That's been a heck of a project.
So are we going to start using Outlook, or how's that
Yep.
going to work? Okay.
Yep. Everything will be Outlook based. And I'm really excited about functionality with Teams and getting people here more interested in Teams.
Me too.
It's driving William nuts because when I was working from home, I could see his icon that he wasn't doing anything, and I could just hit the button and pop up. So he would answer every time just by saying, "I hate this." But it's very functional, and we're using it more in my office just kind of as a pilot. But I think we're gonna be able to do some more cool stuff, so I'm excited about that. Regional dispatch. So Colleen and I met with the chairs and town administrators / managers of the other towns yesterday. It's yesterday, right? Yep. The culmination of that meeting was that we have agreed to begin working on the intermunicipal agreement that would be needed for the next step. So again, as we discussed before, the IMA isn't ironclad document that we can't get out of or we get sued or blah, 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 blah. But it is a requirement that we really need to be competitive in the grant round that's coming up starting first week of January and closing in March. So if we want to be competitive, we need to have an IMA. So I think we have two basically good documents to start from. And there are, I would say there's some really good partnership between the communities that I think we're going to be able to exploit. Hopkinton actually had a meeting about this tonight. They've requested till the beginning of January-ish, or maybe the end of January.
What I saw tonight was it sounds like they're going to do a public outreach in their town, and they want to probably schedule that in the beginning of January. So they might not be able to have
Right.
a commitment to the IMA until mid-January.
Yep,
Who met in Hopkinton tonight?
the select
Their
board.
select board.
The
They met at
select board
6,
did.
so that's why I came here early and watched it.
I want to watch it too, but
Oh, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Yeah, Southborough has a good one too. That actually they had a representative from 911 come out and he did a really nice job
I'll send you that.
of explaining some of the more intricacies. So that was pretty nice too. But I'm looking forward to the process. Whether we end up in it or not. Mark in Southborough and Christie in Westborough. Those are the ones I've worked more closely with, and I enjoy doing things like that, working with the other communities. So I'm looking forward to that process a little more.
So the grant opportunity that opens up in March, what would that be for exactly?
So it depends. I think that the piece that we're missing is probably some advice from our consultant and 911 as
Yep.
to the scope of our initial grant ask. So some communities or some regionals have gone and said, we have a site and we have our study, we need $2 million. And then they kind of go full tilt. Other communities or other recs, have said, we're not really sure on the site. We have, but we know what we want to do, and we need $200,000 because we want to hire a dispatch supervisor that can do all of this work for us. They can do the citing, they can do this, they can do the grant applications, they can do all that stuff. So I think that is a little bit TBD as of today. I think it also depends on, you know, if Hopkinton has an unfavorable reaction during their public outreach, and you know that changes the dynamic. I don't know. There's some variables there.
Sure.
But I think what my previous experience was that the 911 department was really helpful in saying, you know, this you're not reinventing the wheel here. So this other dispatch that spun up, they were in the same boat as you, and they asked for $250,000 in year one. And then because they got that $250,000, they put themselves in a really great grant opportunity for year two at $1 million to then put the infrastructure in place. You know, those types of guidance, I found them to be very helpful, and I'm assuming they're going to be helpful again. So
Great.
We'll just continue this conversation with the board and make sure that everybody's on the same page there.
Okay.
And I don't really have any updates other than these 3 projects for the municipal center. 2 accessibility, and 1 senior center TV room's pretty much done, and I've got some really good feedback from the seniors that actually one woman came up to me and just told me that they were enjoying. They just went in there and sat and watch a movie, which is great. I mean,
Awesome.
that's, you know, we're trying to create an environment that people want to hang out and be with other people, and so I thought that was pretty cool, because that's exactly what we wanted to happen. So yeah, we're in pretty good shape. The door is gonna probably be spring by the time we get all of the stuff, and it just is what it is. And I've stopped hoping for fast results. And the same thing with the assessor's window. We had our bid walkthrough last week, so we're moving forward on all of it, but it takes time.
Construction slow.
It is. Yes. So that's all I have for right now, I think.
Excellent. Right, does anybody have any questions or comments for that? Great. Up next is correspondence. Does anybody want to mention any correspondence? There was that, we touched on it earlier, but the invitation from Julie Feeney about the menorah lighting on the Grafton Town Common, December 18th at 4:15. The flyers and correspondence tonight, if anyone wanted to see that. And then moving on to resignations, we have Richard Whitney from CPC.
I move the board vote to acknowledge and accept the resignation of Richard Whitney from the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
Committee. Excuse me.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor by roll call.
Off aye.
Colleen, aye.
Jefferson, I.
Need I?
Declare the motion carried. And thank you, Rich, for all of your time on the committee.
Thank you, Rich.
Up next is public comment. We have nobody in the room. Is anybody on Zoom?
No one has raised their hand on Zoom, Madam Chair.
Okay. And we have a set of meeting minutes to approve.
Move the board vote to approve the meeting minutes for November 15th, 2022 as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those by roll call.
Off aye.
Colleen, aye.
Jefferson, I.
Need I?
All right. Declare the motion carried. Those are approved. We have no reason to go into executive session, so I can take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Off aye.
Colleen, aye.
Jefferson, I.
Need I?
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks,
you.
Ray.
Good night.
Good night.